Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Monica Lecole Show. I am your girl, Monica Lecole. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Your girl is trying to get her subscribers up. My goal is to get at least 20 subscribers a week. So if you have any friends that you'll be interested in any of the topics that I have discussed, and tell a friend to tune in every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to my show. But we'll go ahead and hop right on in. Y'all know I have me a mocktail every Friday, and today I have me a raspberry lemonade with some pink unicorn. So the drink for today is called Pink Unicorn. I'm gonna show you guys my drink. I'm so upset because I had this really cute bow on my drink, and the bow broke. So let me show y'all my bow. This is the piece of my bow that broke off my drink. I'm gonna put my mic down for a quick second just so I can show y'all how my glass looked. It was so cute and it matched my sweater so good, but I ended up breaking it when I was trying to wash the glass out. But I'm gonna show y'all really quick what it looked like. Give me just a second. So y'all, this is my pink unicorn drink, and this is my bow glass, and this is how it looked before it broke. But it was so cute. I am so upset that I broke my glass because it is so freaking cute. And I'm keeping this piece because I'm gluing it back together because I'm going to use my glass. But this is how it looked before the bow broke off. But today, that is what I'm sipping on. I am sipping on the pink unicorn. This is my pink raspberry lemonade with my cute accented with my cute little pink unicorns. All right, y'all. So let's hop right on in. So the topic today is love yourself enough to know when it's time to walk away from unhealthy relationships. Now, this can be any relationship, just any relationships that you have in your life that are unhealthy. And this is for men or men and women. I'm going to speak more to the women just because I'm a woman and I'm going to speak to experiences that I have had. But this is for anybody listening, male or female. When you have an unhealthy relationship in your life, it's best to know when to walk away. Unhealthy relationships aren't good for you. They aren't good for your children if you have them. They're just not good in general. They don't make you feel well. I know when I had my children, I was in an unhealthy relationship, and I knew it was time to walk away. Sometimes you could see different relationships when you're growing up, when you're younger and you see other women going through different things, and you see the relationships they are in and they're not healthy. And like I was one of those kids that when people around me hurt, I hurt. So if I would see an unhealthy relationship, or I would see a man mistreating a woman and not treating her well, like it would hurt my heart so bad. And when I was younger, I would always be like, when I get older, I don't want to be with somebody that makes me sad or mistreats me or just makes me feel not good about myself. I would always tell myself that growing up, I can like remember these thoughts when I was a kid. I would just always tell myself, like, when I got in a relationship, I just wanted to be happy, and I didn't want to be with a man that mistreated me. So when I found myself in a relationship that wasn't healthy for me, I knew I had to walk away. Of course, walking away isn't easy. That's not easy for any of us, but you have to love yourself enough to know that it's not healthy. You have to love yourself enough to know that nobody is worth you being unhappy. Nobody is, because one thing I've learned about people um in relationships that don't treat you well, they're energy suckers. They're going to take all of your energy and use it for themselves. They're going to do what they need to do for themselves and then leave you depleted. And it's like you have to look at a situation and say, this no longer serves me. Even if I love this person, I shouldn't feel like this with somebody that I'm supposed to be in love with. Like, they'll suck all your energy, drain your energy, act like you're the crazy person. If you truly see, who they are, and you decide to walk away or decide that, it no longer serves you, they will always make you feel like the crazy person, but energy is real, and I feed off of other people's energy. So I realized early on that I couldn't be with a man that wasn't good to me, because it takes so much out of me, because I'm a loving person. I want to love on my man. I want to be good to my man. I want to, just be a good person to my man. And sometimes when you're with people who aren't healthy for you, they make you want to, just give them that energy back. You know what I'm saying? Like they want you, they make you feel like, okay, well, you're not doing, I'm not doing this then, and I'm not that person. And it takes so much out of me to mistreat people, even if I feel like they've been a certain way to me. So I automatically am like, okay, I gotta walk away. I learned early on with even my children based off of the things that I seen in certain situations growing up. I knew when I had children, and once I realized my relationship wasn't going to be what I wanted it to be, I knew I had to walk away. Because even though I felt like I still cared for a person, I knew it wasn't healthy for me. And outside of it being healthy for me, I knew it wasn't healthy for my children. I just knew it was time to walk away. And we grow up and we're taught to like be these good women to men and all this stuff, and it's like it wasn't a lot talked about what type of men they were supposed to be to us. You're supposed to cook, clean, be this good mother, be this good woman, and this good wife, and all of this stuff. But it's like it wasn't a lot talked about. It was just like, okay, if you have a man that provides, you got a good man, and then no matter what, you stick with him. And it's like, no, that's not okay. Like our mental health matters just as much as theirs do. And I'm not trying to discredit a man, but I'm just saying, like, it just wasn't talked about. So it was talked about like I said, if you have a man that's a provider, you cook, clean, you do everything you need to do. And it was just like we didn't have those conversations. Women are a lot more open with conversations now. And of course, when we were younger and back in the old days, a lot of those women they didn't have the resources or the outlets that we have. So a lot of them, they didn't have a choice, they had to accept that. But then time started to change, and it was just like me growing up seeing certain situations and the unhealthiness in those situations. It let me know early on that it's just like, just because somebody is providing for me, I'm not going to sit there and just take anything from them, because the way I feel watching somebody else go through it, I can't handle that. I am very fragile. I am. My feelings, I care about how I feel. So if somebody hurts my feelings, or I feel like, you're not willing to change, or you think you're going to continue to treat me any type of way, I'll walk away. Even if it hurts me to walk away, I will, because nobody is worth my happiness. Like, I'm going to be happy regardless. As women, everybody deserves to be happy. So I'm not saying men don't either. I'm just speaking to women right now. As women, we endure so much. And it's like, when we grew up watching older women and stuff, it was just like you see them go through so much. And it's like, after you go through all of this, are you gonna win? You see so many of them go through all of it and they still don't win in the end. You see so many of them, I'm riding and I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna do all this, and they still don't win in the end, and that's hurtful to see. So as a woman, it's not that I'm not that type of woman that's gonna ride for my man and be there for my man. I'm gonna do that. And anybody that I've truly been in a relationship with, know that's who I am. I am gonna ride, but I'm not gonna ride to the point to where it starts to hurt and break me. Every relationship has its ups and downs. We all are human, and we all are going to have bad days. We're going to have days where we're not feeling our best. We're going to have days where we're not feeling each other. That's human. Like, we're humans. So we're going to have off days. But there's a difference between, okay, today we're not on the best of terms, or today we had a disagreement, or what, versus somebody that's just not good to you. And it's like we're supposed to sit around and just wait until these men become who we need them to be, because they're supposed to be the head of the household. And it's just like, no, we don't have to sit around, because what that does is that continues to create broken homes. Us growing up, it was like, okay, if you have a man in the house and a woman, like, that's a family, and no matter what y'all go through, as long as that father is in the house, y'all need to just roll with it. And it's like, no, like, I've seen a lot of broken two-parent households. Just because there are two parents there doesn't mean that's a great household. Kids know that their parents, they aren't happy. The kids don't have a relationship with the mother or the father, because there are some households where the kids don't have a relationship with the mother, and there are some households where the kids don't have a relationship with the father. It's not all on the men, but I'm just speaking to, again, things that we have to endure as women, and growing up and making us feel like that as long as a father is around, you have to deal with whatever this man is putting you through so that they can be there for your children. When, let's talk about, if I choose to walk away from this situation because I'm not happy, you still are going to be a father. I shouldn't have to be with you for you to be a father. If I'm not happy, that's not healthy for my children. So why would I have to stay with you for you to be a parent? Because if I walk away, I'm still going to be a parent. So why is it that as women we have to choose to stay somewhere because we want the man to be a parent, or we want the household to look a certain a way to the outside, and when we walk through these doors, it's just tension, it's unhappiness, it's unhealthy stuff for our kids. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I walked away because I knew I didn't want my kids to grow up in that type of environment. You know what I'm saying? It was somebody that I care for. I was in love with this person. You know, at one point thought this would be the person I would be with, but then you have to accept what it is. Yes, I have two kids, but no, I'm not going to deal with anything like this, you know, because I seen what it could be like just sitting there letting somebody mistreat you. It's not healthy. And then it affects your children. Like, I don't think parents think about the effect that it can have on your children when you have them in an unhealthy environment. And when I say unhealthy, you have some physically unhealthy environments, you have some emotionally unhealthy environments, emotional, physical, all of it is unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I don't think people think about the effect it'll have on their children. You know, your child watching somebody call you out your name, your child watching somebody mistreat you, your child walking on eggshells in their home, your child, even if it's not inside the home, them, you know, being outside the home, seeing things being done to you that hurt you. So you know it's hurting the parent, but it's hurting you. And I don't think they think about that because, you know, you have kids and the kids will be fine. And you know, us as kids, when we're kids, we're thinking we're in a healthy environment. You know, I have a healthy environment. You know, they might have their own things going on outside of the house, but you know, I have both my parents and it's healthy and I'm taken care of and I'm loved and all of the things that you want as a child, you know. And it takes you to get grown to realize, damn, like I have a good life and I had a good life as a child, but dang, I got some things brewing that need to be worked on because of this though. So, you know, I'm always grateful that I had enough strength to walk away from a situation that wasn't healthy for me, to the point where my children don't remember because they were so young. But I think because of what I watched in certain situations with adult women around me, um I just knew that I didn't want that. I didn't want that. You know, even though I found myself in a relationship that wasn't healthy after I was in it for a while, I realized it wasn't healthy. I was young, and but I knew once I accepted the fact of this is what this relationship is and I don't want this, then that's when I started praying and setting up my exit plan, you know, because it's just not that easy to walk away from people that you care about. I feel like a lot of people sit in things because it takes so much to be uncomfortable to walk away that they would just rather sit there and settle. And that saddens me as a woman, you know, like I have a soft spot for those type of situations. And I realized at 42 that I do have a soft spot for that because of certain situations that went on in my life. I felt so sorry for women. Then I had to realize as an adult, it's like you can fault the man for mistreating a woman because that's not right. And if you care about a woman, you should never, ever, ever want that woman to hurt. But then you have to be real and say, these people see what they're going through and they're choosing to accept it instead of changing it, you know, because I'm a firm believer in it's not that easy to just jump up and walk away. But then you start to plan your exit plan. Do what you need to do so that you know I'm doing everything I can to get myself situated so that when it's time for me to make my move, I'm going to do what I need to do. You don't just sit there and just say this is what it is and I'm rolling with it, because the thing about it is you can say that all day long, but once that man gets tired and he no longer wants to deal with it, he's going to leave. So all while you're sitting there saying I'm just gonna sit there and deal with it because it's easier. Um, you end up finding yourself in the same situation that you would have probably been in if you walked away, you know. And it's just I really have a soft spot for that type of um situation. I realize that I do. I realize it hurts me to see women get mistreated by men. It hurts me when I feel like women just sit there and accept it. It hurts me because I was once that girl. I was once that girl. And even though, I've been in situations where I didn't like certain things in the situation, it's not compared to what I have been through, but I still don't look at other situation like, yeah, that's not my situation, so it's whatever. No, I feel like any situation, even though it's a difference in what's possibly happening in the situation, any situation you're not happy with, you shouldn't be in. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, you shouldn't be in it. If it makes you unhappy, if it doesn't bring you peace, you should not be in it. It doesn't matter who it is. Because one thing I've learned, when you're raising daughters and sons, because my children helped me walk away, because I knew I didn't want my daughter to grow up and think it was okay for a man to mistreat her, and I didn't want my son to grow up and think it was okay to mistreat women. So they helped me. But I think as women, we don't think about the effect that it can have, because you can possibly allow your children to see things, and they start accepting things or thinking things are okay because they watched you go through it, and then it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel like, dang, and you hate to see them go through it. But it's like, what example have you shown? Like, I haven't seen a lot of, me myself, I haven't seen a lot of healthy marriages. I haven't. But I'm going to be in a healthy marriage. I am. You know why? Because the man that I choose to marry, I'm going to make sure that this is the person that I'm supposed to be with. I'm going to make sure that we love each other the same, respect each other the same. I'm going to make sure that we're on the same page. I'm not just trying to jump into something. When I get to that point to where I get married, I'm going to make sure this is my person, and not just because I like them or love them or felt. No, there are going to be a number of things that I'm going to look into. Are you mentally healthy? Are you emotionally healthy? Like, how do you respect your mother? How do you treat your mother? How do you treat the women in your life? Like I tell my daughter right now today, when you're dealing with these young men, see the type of respect that they have for their mother. Look at how they treat the women in their life. So I always tell my daughter to pay attention to stuff like that. It's just a lot that you have to think about when you're dealing with people and being in relationships, and knowing when it is just time to let things go. But I talk to my daughter a lot about that, because I always tell her how, she may not remember what I went through, but I always tell her that, they were a lot of my strength, because I just knew how I was affected by the things that I seen. So I didn't want them to be affected by that. You know what I'm saying? And again, at 42, I realized I have a very sensitive spot for women in unhealthy relationships. I do. Like, it just bothers me, and I realize I have to work on that. I do, because the way I come unraveled when I'm talking to people, or I see situations where men aren't the best to women, and I feel like they still are nice to these people or talk to these people, yeah, I come unraveled. And it's like in the inside, I'm just red, because I'm like, this person treated you so bad. Why are you nice to them? Why are you talking to them? Why do they even feel comfortable calling you and having a conversation with you? So I know it's bad. I know I have accepted that no matter what I have seen in unhealthy relationships or what I have experienced, it's my job to work on my issues with that. It's not the people around me. It's not people on, it's nobody that's going through different things, going through these type of situations. It's me. I have to be the one to work on that. But I it's a very sensitive subject for me, of just knowing when to walk away from relationships that aren't healthy for you. I just think we were programmed to be women and be submissive to men, and a lot of these men ain't even worth us being submissive at all. But some women are so, they want a man so bad that they would be submissive to anything as long as it's a man, and you're here, and I'm just gonna go with it because I want a man, and it's sad. It's sad. And I pray I never feel like that. I pray I don't ever get a feeling like that in my life, because I want somebody that loves me just the same as I love them. I want somebody to be good to me. I want to love on somebody and I want them to love on me back. I want us to be partners. Partners is not just somebody financially taking care of you. I think we have been programmed that as long as a man is providing, you just go with whatever, because you could be with a broke man. And I hate when people reference that, because who could be? You can't tell me who I'm gonna be with. People always want to compare men. I'm not gonna deal with the type of man that you're dealing with. So you can't tell me what I have to accept when I know I'm not gonna deal with that. And I'm not just speaking to money. I'm not just speaking to money. I'm just saying, once I see a man can't show up for me a certain way, then I know that's not the man for me. And take the money out of it. I just mean in any way. So I don't compare and say, well, this is my situation. I don't, because you know what, I'm not going to deal with that type of man. Maybe years ago when I was younger, but at 42 I'm not. Even in my 30s, no, I'm not. I made those mistakes when I was younger. We all made mistakes in our 20s with men and different things. That's why even after my children, I didn't have any more children, because I told myself if I was going to push out another baby, I was going to be married. Married doesn't mean that it's all going to work out and everything is going to be great. I'm not standing for that. I just knew I wanted a different type of dynamic than what I had before. I was already somebody's baby mama. So I wasn't going to be a baby mama a second time. I didn't want to be that. So I knew if I had another baby, I had to be married to this man, and married again. I don't feel like, oh, marriage changes things and y'all could get divorced. I know all of that. But what I'm saying is I was going to try to do it differently if I did it again. We don't know what's gonna happen. Our goal, if you get married, your goal is to be happy and go run off in the sunset with your husband. That's the goal. But I knew I didn't want to do it the same exact way. Like, I'm going to try something different. I'm not going to go in it the same way that I went in my other situation, because of course when I had those children, you're not expecting them to not have the best relationship with their father, because at the time when I had them, they did have a relationship. But things change when you walk away from people. And you my whole thing was, I didn't worry about the type of father that he was going to be. My main concern was putting my children in a healthy environment. And that was just what my concern was, because at that time that's what was very important to me, making sure that they were in a healthy environment where they felt loved, where they felt taken care of, where they felt like they had a peaceful environment. So that's just my thought. That's been on my mind very heavy with um just situations, things I've been thinking about, and just feelings that I've had in different scenarios. I realized that, certain situations around me have affected me. Growing up, I didn't realize how bad it was, but now that I'm grown, I realize the effect that it had on me. And I'm grateful that, in my early 20s, I felt the effect, but I feel like as I'm getting older, it's kind of getting worse. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's brewing more. And I think because we're women, like, we deserve to be loved. We deserve to be taken care of. We deserve to be, a load taken off of us. We deserve for people to care for us. You know what I'm saying? And not just financially, even though it's grateful. Like, I'm so grateful for any financial help. Like, always so grateful. Because I grew up in a household where it was financial. My father took care of me and my mother. I watched that. You know, I watched that. So that's all I knew anyway. I didn't know of a household where a man didn't provide. I didn't know that. So I came in the game as my father being a provider. So that was already in my mind that if a man was in my household, he was going to provide. So that wasn't the thing. I already knew that was going to happen if I chose to truly be with somebody. But there are so many other things outside of that that are important to me. So that was just on my mind, and I just kind of wanted to get it off my chest. So my closet tale for the week, you guys know I have a segment called Coming Out the Closet. My closet tale of the week is me. I'm going to start back going to therapy. I stopped going to therapy because I felt like the reason I was going wasn't major, and I kind of felt silly for going, and I hate that I felt that way. But I'm going to sign back up and I'm going to start back going. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And tune in again next Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And y'all have a good night. Bye, y'all.